So today I have the absolute privilege of talking to author Kelly Moran. She writes contemporary romance. She writes romance with a little paranormal flair. She writes horror under another name, and I will put the website right there. Oh, check that out. And you can also find her on her other website. Wah! Go and look her up. The reason I wanted to talk to her today is because Halloween's a comin', and anything with a little paranormal flair might be fun to read. Paranormal flair plus romance, even better. Without further ado, we will chat with Kelly.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for meeting with me.
The joy of working from home.
It's a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. Well, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, my name is Kelly Moran, and I am a author of paranormal and contemporary romance. Mostly contemporary, but I have a little paranormal thrown in there. I also write horror or ghost stories under the pen name Kelly Covic.
Another identity. Good to know. Well, we'll tell everyone so they can look for you there as well. Did you ever have a paranormal experience?
Oh, many.
Many?
Many. Yeah, that's actually kind of what spurned a lot of my interest in, well, part of what sparked my interest in the paranormal. I don't know, I've just been fascinated by it. But I live in South Carolina now. But I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and my BFF up there um shares my love of paranormal and all things interesting. So when my birthday would roll around in September, the weather would get cooler and all the spooky things would start. So for my birthday, we would always go to a place that was, reportedly haunted or something like that. And we started that when we were young, 18-ish. Um, had a bunch of paranormal experiences during those adventures.
I thought you must have. Reading your book, Ghost of a Promise, thinking, this is from a point of self-experiencing it, right? It's not just pulled out of thin air, as it were. Did
Well, they tell you to write what you know. I don't know if that's always true, but I feel having that experience, even if it's just sitting in front of the TV watching a spooky movie, so you know what that feels like. I mean, anything
Mhm.
really, but yeah, I've had a few. The one that I can think of off the top of my head, probably the most profound one. So there's this place, rural area near Milwaukee, an old farmhouse, kind of in the woods, set off of a country road, middle of nowhere. And the story goes that, if you set foot on the property, all these weird things happen and the house is really far back. I mean, really far back off the road. So picture you're in the middle of nowhere off of a country road, a road off of a road, and there's this gravel driveway, just a chain link going across the very narrow driveway. Middle of the night, me and my BFF and my former sister-in-law went to this location. It's privately owned now, but at the time was county property. We go there, we park on the road, off near the ditch. My BFF has her video camera, or actually it was a regular camera, that she was recording video on. Also, we step over this chain link and you're surrounded by complete darkness. I mean, you can't see anything. And she's a few steps ahead of me. My sister-in-law cuts and runs, goes back to the car. She's like, I'm out, peace out. So, me and my BFF were walking. She's, I don't know, probably 10, 20 feet ahead of me. All you see is woods on both sides, and there's a curve in the path. And we were just getting to the curve, assuming the house or something was, just past that. And I get this like overwhelming sensation of, I don't know how to describe it, vile hatred. It would be the best way to describe it. And it was so consuming. I got angry. I got, livid. It was a really weird, unusual feeling for me. And then I cannot move, like as if somebody's got their hand on my chest or I walked into a wall, cannot move. And so, I called for my friend and she turned around and she had the camera on me. I was holding a flashlight, and the flashlight goes from my hand 30 feet the other direction, like complete lateral, 30 feet the other direction, and just dies. And she's like, "We're going to go now." I'm like, "Yeah, we are." I hear this voice in my ear, and it was,
Oh, look at
I
the
mean,
time.
to the best of my knowledge, sounded like Latin, when her and I were kind of trying to tear it apart later. I didn't know what it was to try to Google Translate.
Mhm.
Even if I were to type it in now, there's no way. But it sounded like Latin. Um, and that was our experience. We got in the car and we left. Of all these strange things that came out of that, we went back to my place and nothing recorded. Absolutely
Oh,
nothing. On her camcorder, you could see on the screen the little record button, and it was playing back like in a live. Nothing. We got back to the house, nothing. It recorded us pulling up. She spanned outside the driveway, us stepping over. And it was about the time we separated and she started walking ahead of me that it quit recording. Just nothing. And we've been to other places since then where that's happened. It's like, this hotel in downtown Milwaukee that's supposedly haunted. We stayed on the floor where the former owner, dating all the way back to 18
mhm.
something, 1800s, walks the halls, says hi to the guests, things like
Huh?
that. And her portrait's hanging there. And we all there was a big group of us that time for my birthday, took several pictures of, the floor, our room, her portrait. And how about the only pictures that didn't come out were her portrait? So,
It,
I mean, it's happened to us
it's
many times,
amazing.
but it was kind of disappointing.
That's amazing. So do you read paranormal anything
Oh, I
or do you
do. I
just
read
write it?
paranormal.
Yeah.
I read a lot of horror besides romance. I read a lot of horror. I lean toward versus like the gory Saw Halloween stuff, which I watch too. But
Mhm.
I tend to, if I'm gonna read, I'll read the ghost stories like, Haunting Hill House, things like that.
Just to soothe you in the evenings before you go to bed, right?
Always.
Do you have a favorite trope that you read that you like to read most?
With romance, I don't have a favorite per se. With regards to subgenre, I can't really get into the alien romances, the mafias, or historical. Now, that's not to say I won't read them. I do, but they're not my favorite. Trope wise, reading and writing, there's not really a favorite, but I do tend to inadvertently lean toward friends to lovers. I don't know why. I do love
It's
that trope.
it's
I
always
tend to write a lot of them too without realizing it. I was setting up my new shop on my website actually, and I was kind of breaking up the books so searchable by trope, by theories, and I was actually surprised how many I had that were friends to lovers without realizing it.
just write the trope that suits the situation, right? And that seems to suit your situations.
Or even if it doesn't, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you if you had a favorite romance novel, but maybe I need to just ask you, since your reading is so varied, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? Could you have a favorite book? I don't know.
No, even with regards to my own, I get asked that a lot. It's kind of like picking your favorite kid or your favorite pet.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. I mean, there are some that stand out to me, probably like Sanctuary by Nora Roberts, because it was one of the first romances I had read when I was younger. As for favorites, no. I mean, that one's just the one that always stands out to me the most. I mean, going from Pride and Prejudice to Nora Robert. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'll read it.
I guess if you've had personal experience with the paranormal, that makes it
Mhm.
simple to explain why you'd like to read, why you'd like to write it, why you'd like to read it. What is it about that element, that horror element or that frightening element? Can you pinpoint what draws you to it?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I've had the interest since I was young, long before I started writing, professionally or interested in writing professionally. With regards to Phantom specifically, I think that came from all the paranormal programs, like Ghost Adventures, Ghost
Mhm.
Hunters, my favorite medium, that kind of thing. Maybe it's the unknown element. It's something that can't be answered. I mean, we can scientifically watch EVPs. We can, watch thermal imaging cameras. We can, but the fact remains, it's a science that has yet to be determined. Nobody can say what happens to us after I die, after you die. So I guess that would be the most interesting factor to me. And really, from an author perspective, you can go anywhere with that. I still do watch a lot of those programs. And as I would tune in, I would think to myself, they should really do that. They get better results if they do that. And maybe that's just, the writer in me, like, could be better. Even if it's not fiction, this could be better. I mean, I think we all do it, all us writers tend to do it subconsciously. We'll watch a movie or we'll watch a TV program or something. We're like, this could have been better if, regardless. I would watch those and think this could be better. Whatever. If I were doing it, and then it just like ding, I'm gonna create my own. So that's what I did. I created a team of paranormal researchers who took, or rather, I took the best elements of all of these paranormal programs and I put them into the Phantoms team. So instead of staying on site or a location for one night or even like a weekend, they are on site from anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, night and day investigations. I mean, every team member and every cast member has their purpose, but they're interactive. They jump around, they do a number of things. They have a team historian who fully 100% researches the background of the locations. There's a legit psychic on the team who, goes in unknown of where he is or what the reports are and pulls his own warnings or suggestions. And he's only on site the first few hours just to kind of initially get. But and of course, I made them all attractive
Well, of
and in
course.
their late 20s, early 30s, right? They've got to be attractive. But it's a trilogy at the moment, and each book is a different haunting location. Each book is a different haunting type, and each features a different couple from the team. So the first one is a haunted mansion, Greek revival, very old, um, on the coast of Maine, and that one has more of a traditional type of haunting, so ghost, boo, things that go bump in the night. Did you hear that? And then book two is a ghost town in Arizona, Wild Wild West, that kind of thing. But the heroine of that book sees her doppelganger, which is a warning or a premonition of death. And in the third book, you get the darker spirit, the demonic activity, the really super creepy stuff. And that takes place at an abandoned church in rural Nebraska, and there's also a school on the grounds, also abandoned, um, that has a very horrible, horrible history.
That
I
sounds
really, really loved writing that. I still get a ton of reader mail from it. I think at the time there wasn't anybody else really who was writing paranormal investigations that because the series first released in 2015, it's been rebooted in 2021 or 2022,
mhm.
but Heather Graham around that time or shortly after that came out with her Crew of Hunters, which was similar, but they were an FBI division. Awesome books, by the way. But nobody else really at that time was writing anything like that.
Mhm,
Never mind merging it with romance.
mhm.
So I think that's why it kind of created its own niche and yeah, everybody's been very interested in that. So when I get my ducks in a row, I'll probably write a spin-off to that series. The third book kind of shows how the lead investigator wanted to take over producing the show. So I could easily do a spin-off of that should I want to with a whole new cast of characters.
It's
I think
good
I
that you
might.
left the door open for
I
that
did. I
opportunity
did.
going.
Readers tell me over and over again they want more of them.
Mhm.
So We shall see.
You have to keep the people happy, basically. This leads in nicely. What is coming up for you? What are we watching out for
Well,
from you?
at the moment, I have a lot of investment in the contemporary because I have foreign translation overseas, in quite a few other countries, especially Germany. So, they don't do the paranormal and whatnot over there. So, most of my contracts are coming from Germany. So I have a small town southern rom-com series that I just launched last year that I'm working on with them. There's three more books coming, so that'll be a trilogy. So almost done with book one, overdue to them. So I have to write those three. Once that's finished, I don't know, anything goes. I'll probably work on the spin-off to Phantoms. I also have the third book in my Witch trilogy, my other paranormal romance series. The series is called Fated. First one's Bewitched, second one's Charmed. Third one is called Spellbound, so that has yet to be released, of which I still get emails for constantly. But I
You
need to
have a
finish
date?
that one. So I promise, hand to God, I will finish that one.
It's coming.
So yeah, that's the hope, is to finish that one, maybe do a spin-off to Phantoms. But right now, Heart of Valentine is the new contemporary small town southern rom-com. Centers around three besties who inherit an old historic library. Takes place in a fictional town near Savannah.
Very cool. I will put a link to your website on here, and I encourage everyone to go take a peek because the Phantom series is available there, all three books together. I think
Yep.
everyone should go shopping on your website, basically, and take a peek. And they have just
That
enough time to read before Halloween.
that
Do you
would
have
be awesome.
anything else you want to tell us before we go?
Not really. I mean, just that you can buy my ebooks on my website for less than retail if you're interested. I do have some other merch that's going to be popping up there shortly. Look for future books.
Sign
Phantoms
up
is
for your
perfect for
list.
Halloween.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're into the small town rom-com thing, I'm known for that.
Yeah.
That's
A farm
me.
gal loves a small town rom com. So definitely.
Well, and if you're with, I noticed your name too with the farm girl whatnot. I've also got a Western duology series, Catnack Ranch, which is redemption and benediction. So that's a little bit more heartfelt than my rom-coms,
Hmm.
but takes place on a ranch in Wyoming.
Gonna try it out. My reading to read stack is like, oh, thank goodness they're
Oh, I hear
ebooks
you.
now, so I don't have piles laying around my house.
Thank you, Kindle.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me so much. I wish you happy Halloween, more
Thank you. You
exciting
too.
paranormal experiences.
Oh yeah.
And I will be putting up the link to your website on here. Everyone needs to go check it out.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.